It is NBA draft week, and we are less than a week from free agency starting across the NBA, and still a ton of questions to be answered regarding the future of the Philadelphia 76ers. Well, there is one certainty that seems to establish itself, and it's one that Sixers fans should take a huge deep breath regarding. That being that Tyrese Maxey is going to be around for the long haul. Now, I do want to dive into the details of what his extension is going to look like and why it's still going to be a little bit of time until we officially see ink dry on the paper there. But I want to begin by this initial report that launched this here. This coming from Mike Scotto of Hoops Hype, who writes, quote, "The most certain thing for Philadelphia is Tyrese Maxey re-signing on a max extension," league sources said. However, after having to wait a year and being patient with Philadelphia's front office as it has prioritized max cap space, keep an eye on Clutch Sports CEO Rich Paul wanting a player option on the final year of Maxey's new contract and the full 15% trade kicker he's eligible for in negotiations, Hoops Hype has learned. Now, this is great news and nothing that is a huge surprise here. Maxey has been eligible to sign this extension. Even last summer, he was eligible to, and they decided not to sign it at that point, and they still have not. And the reason for that is for having this third max slot that Daryl Morey has talked so much about. Now, whether that be Paul George or Brandon Ingram or Jimmy Butler, the options for who that player can be would not have happened without Tyrese Maxey being willing to delay this extension. And that is nothing that you should just look over here. But there are a lot of players who would have had an issue doing that, and for Tyrese specifically, that he did take a risk in doing that. But to dive into his stats as a whole, as you can see, he got better year in and year out, but he did earn his money last year when he averaged 20.3 points per game, 3.5 assists, 2.9 rebounds, shot even better from three, a career-high 43.4%. And then improved on all those numbers, earning the most improved awards for his 25.9 points per game, 6.2 assists, 3.7 rebounds. The bottom line is the dude is the real deal. There is no doubt about that. But think about an alternate world in which things don't go ideal. Say Tyrese Maxey picks up a notable injury this year and misses extended period of time. We would have hated if that is the case, but that would have made those conversations at this point a little bit more difficult. And I do think Tyrese deserves credit for putting the team first and just continuing to be everything these Sixers could possibly hope. Now, to dive into why this is the reason for why the Sixers have to wait, it does have to do with doing the salary cap gymnastics. So to keep this in its simplest form here, I want to begin by looking at what the contract numbers will be here. So Tyrese Maxey did miss out on All-NBA, which I did think he had a case for, but it did benefit the Sixers. And shout out to Sixers Adam for breaking this down. He says, Tyrese Maxey did not make All-NBA, which means his 5-year max contract offer this summer will be $204.4 million for the 5 years. If he had made All-NBA, it would have been $245.3. So that left column of this tweet here is the exact numbers that Tyrese Maxey will sign to that paperwork. That's $35.25 mil for next year, $38 mil in 25-26, $40.8 mil in 26-27, $43.7 mil in 27-28, and then $46.5 mil in that 28-29 season, which is, of course, the one being talked about that Rich Paul is going to want to be a player option. And I have no problem with that being a player option. To be perfectly honest, it has been about as perfect a fit as anyone could have imagined from every standpoint of Tyrese Maxey as a talent, that he's clearly extended this championship window and really given the Sixers a pulse in a way that I think we would be having some really hard conversations about the future of Joel Embiid if Tyrese Maxey had just been a role player or a guy who was okay. The fact that he has shown this all-star and star potential really has revitalized the franchise in a way that I still think is underappreciated. So the bottom line is I'm okay with that, whatever this guy wants. That if he does want a player option at the end, totally fine. I'm assuming that everything continues in the right direction. The worst case is it'll be kind of a situation similar to, I know there's probably a bit more risk that this guy may leave than some should hope, but like OG Anunoby with the New York Knicks, that he is a $19 million player option that he is expected to decline to get a bigger dollar figure deal there. If that is the world we're living in with Tyrese Maxey, and if he has played to the level that commands that type of number or that type of renegotiation, that's a good problem to have from the Sixers perspective. But for now, they're focused on producing a winner. Now, to get into why it is the case for delaying, it all comes back to the cap hit. So Spot Rack was down the website when I was setting up to record this, so I had to pull off these numbers from Liberty Ballers here, which looks a little bit different than past numbers I have used on this channel. But to dive into what the cap hits are, you can see Tyrese Maxey right at the top, that $13 million number there. That is what the cap hit means. And you can see this for all these players. I'm going to dive into what exactly this means in a second. But you can see $49.3 million for Tobias Harris, $28 million for Buddy Hield, $22 million for Nico Batum, $22 million for Robert Covington, $15 million for DeAnthony Melton, $3 million Kyle Lowry. The ones that I think are notable, KJ Martin at $2 million is a cap hold I expect them to use The Tyrese Maxey at $13 million, absolutely. Campaign will be interesting there. Now, what a cap hit or a cap hold means here is that is the number that counts against your salary as you're kind of budgeting. So for the Sixers specifically, that right now it's Joel Embiid, Paul Reed on a non-guaranteed, Jeff Doughton on a team option, and Ricky Council on a non-guaranteed. Those are the numbers they have tied to. Now, for Tyrese Maxey, as we just indicated, that he's absolutely going to get a max contract. But for now, the Sixers can keep his bird rights by utilizing that cap hit. So that number here, that $13 million number for Tyrese Maxey, is going to be the number that counts against the salary cap as they negotiate these other salaries. And then, of course, his contract is going to look at $35 million. So they're able to use that $13 million number while you negotiate these other free agents. And then you circle back to sign Tyrese Maxey and can go above the cap because of the bird rights that you are bringing on by accepting that cap hit. And Bird's rights date back to the Larry Bird era when the salary cap first came into effect, which basically allows you to pay more money to keep your own players, which is the way the NBA has gone about encouraging players to stick with their team through the length of their career, is more or less the premise of it. Now, there's certainly some more intricacies to this that I learn more about every day and that the CBA changes on a pretty regular basis that are worth noting, but that is the meat and potatoes of what the situation is. So the Sixers can keep that cap hit. Tyrese Maxey counts as a $13 million man in the eyes of the NBA, and then circle back and give him his actual bag when the time is right for the offseason. Now, one of the biggest parts of this, the biggest parts of the equation, why this is so important, is Tyrese Maxey has been vital to buying into this three-star game plan of having a third max slot that is, of course, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and the mystery man here. Now, Maxey specifically, again, not much more to say that he averaged 25.9 points per game this year, 6.2 assists, which was a career high there. Shot 61% on corner threes, which is insane there. 40.1% of his shots coming from beyond the arc, and still just 23 years old. The guy works incredibly hard. He has a work ethic and a personality like you could only hope for. And now you got to find that third piece. Now, that could be a guy like Jimmy Butler. That could be a guy like Zach LaVine, like LeBron James, like Brandon Ingram. There's cases for all of these guys for who you should prefer. We know there's been some back and forth noise on Paul George and how realistic how much interest the Sixers do have on that. But the bottom line is that the core is going to be Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, and there would not even be an opportunity to bring in this third star if it wasn't for Tyrese Maxey buying in. So shout out to him for believing the Sixers front office and being on the same page. Now, when looking at these three-star plans, there is still room for skepticism. That we know the NBA, more so than ever, is about team basketball. That it are the role players on teams, the Bruce Browns, the Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, the Aaron Gordons, that somewhat decide championships in a way that, of course, you need your stars, but you have to have a cohesive team to make up for the weaknesses of your stars and add to maximize their strengths. Now, for the Sixers, when looking at the salary cap picture, if they do go this three-star route, shout out to Derek Barnard here for tweeting this out. So this is a bit of the long-term projection for the Sixers building around a third max level. So as you can see, a lot of money being committed there. That you can see there's a lot of restrictions that come with being under the apron, that you can see where this is. So that red little part above the blue is the space under the first apron. The blue chunk is just the big three salary. And then you can see the deadline or the tread line for the big three there. So it's a lot of money. We're talking about $136 million next year, $146 million the following, $157 million, and then $169 million in 27-28. Now, it's hard to fully project this as the TV deal is relevant to what the salary cap will even be. What is interesting about this new CBA and why Daryl Morey has been so calculated and not going into these high numbers, or at least not putting the Sixers in a position where they're committed. We've seen them do things like trade Matisse Thybulle for Jalen McDaniels, more or less for no reason, just to duck a tax here. It's because there are repeater punishments, and that number compounds. It's not just the same punishment every year. It gets more and more. We saw a team like the Warriors paying more in the luxury tax last year than any team ever has. And really, for what? That is a team that obviously has won 4 championships, and we know what it is. But they're also a team that lost the Sacramento Kings in the play-in last year. So you got to have a hard look in the mirror there. But for the Sixers, it was about clearing this flexibility and having this potential to build out from here. And that is where they're at. That this is a blank canvas for the offseason. We know that Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey are the core. It's about what other pieces do you add to actually make this team climb into a true contending category. That is the job that is at hands for Daryl Morey. But the good news is Tyrese Maxey is not going anywhere, nor should he for the rest of his NBA career. That I do think there's very much a world where the power balance within the Sixers organization begins to filter down to Tyrese Maxey being the guy towards the tail end of this max contract. That for now, there's no doubt that Joel Embiid's team and that whoever this big fish, this third star is going to play a massive role in contending for a championship. But as we look ahead, as Joel Embiid continues to age, as he's now 30 and we know the health issues that he has battled, it would not shock me if you look at the pecking order and all of a sudden Joel Embiid is more necessary to the team on a defensive standpoint, on a rebounding standpoint, and it's Tyrese Maxey carrying the bulk of the scoring. I absolutely see a world where that happens and still see a world where this is a successful team with those factors there. So a lot of reasons for optimism about this. Shout out to Tyrese Maxey for being open-minded, not being in a rush to get this done or needing it in that immediate way. I do think that I have no concerns about him signing this deal. I understand that money comes with expectation at the NBA level and that guys like Tobias Harris certainly have not lived up to it. But Tyrese Maxey is the farthest thing from Tobias Harris, that from an on-court standpoint, from a personality standpoint, he's checked every single box you could possibly look at, and I cannot wait to see what the future has in store. So this is good news. We will celebrate the day in which he officially signs that contract, but for now there is plenty of work to be done beforehand to reward Tyrese Maxey with a better team for believing in Daryl Morey. So let's make those things happen. Let's build this Sixers team into a contender, and it is draft week, so things are beginning to kick up. Appreciate you guys for tuning into this video now. Let me know your thoughts on the Tyrese Maxey contract. Do you have any concerns about it? Is there any part of you that is worried maybe he's not that level of max dude? Because for me, I don't think so. I'm ready to sign up and cannot wait to see where he can take this franchise. So appreciate you guys for tuning in once again. If you have not already, make sure you smash that subscribe button, drop a like on this video, and I'll be talking to you next time right here on Sixers Digest. Also, make sure to tune in. I'll be doing a live stream tonight breaking down some of the top draft prospects, so stay posted for that. Click that bell to make sure you don't miss out on any notifications for us going live, shooting for about 7 o'clock right now. So stay tuned and talk to you next time. Peace.